former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, someone's here. That's why I said this. Someone who has run for office, who knows how sharp the elbow is. Michelle Caruso-Cabrera is here to talk about Mamdani being the guy after Cuomo basically conceded to this gentleman and state assemblyman. No candidate is set to secure a majority in the first round of the city's ranked choice election. But last night he did lead the vote count, and he had, as we're finding out, 44% in 1 million votes, the biggest we've seen.
It was a very heavy turnout, very heavy turnout.
We have betting sites now, so nothing's a surprise anymore.
Right.
Because he moved ahead in those and in some of the polls. So I still thought it might not happen.
So last night...
I don't live here, so it's not...
So the results aren't official yet, but basically last night a socialist won the Democratic primary in New York City. And generally in states or cities where you have one party that dominates the politics of a city or a state, whoever wins the primary generally goes on to win the general election. So right now the betting markets have that a socialist will be the next mayor of New York City when the November election. That's Zohran Mamdani. You see him there in the video. He is an avowed socialist. When he first won his assembly seat back in the summer of 2020, the New York Times tweeted, they were tweets back then, said there's a new progressive representing Astoria, Queens, which is the part of New York City that he is from or is living in. And he tweeted back at them and said, stop calling me a progressive. I'm a socialist. And back then he was running on defund the police, etc. He didn't say
Global
defund the
Intifada.
Well, that's this time around,
Does he know
right?
what that is exactly?
Oh, I think he knows exactly what it is, sure.
So we want October 7th type things to happen here and to
Michelle, I heard somebody this morning, I think it was the managing editor of Bloomberg, saying that he has reached out to Jewish leaders in New York City.
He
and says that he wants to work with them. He's just pro-Palestine. What do you make of that? What do you think that means?
So, yes, he's absolutely reached out more than we have seen other members of the Democratic Socialists.
Very recently?
Very recently. But make no mistake, when you look at the Democratic Socialists, and you can go to their website and look it up, and their stronghold is New York City, they support the BDS movement, the boycott and defund. They prohibit people from traveling to Israel. If they're going to be a member of the party, they won't get the endorsement. So, this was a big issue in New York City. It was, where did you stand on the state of Israel and its existence?
So when you look at a map, though, and you start to then project out into where we'll be a couple months from now, the business community, as we learned yesterday when Kathy Wilde's here, I think her phrase was terrified. The feeling is terrifying. How do you think that I imagine the business community, of whatever you believe that means, will try to rally either around Cuomo, or do they try to rally around Adams? I don't know. And then the second question is that can something like that actually work, insofar as clearly there is a group of people, a lot of people in this city, but the question is how many of them really who both like him and maybe not like them?
Right.
If that makes sense.
So let's clarify for the viewers, because you mentioned Andrew Cuomo. He lost the Democratic primary. Right. So why are we talking about him in the general? Because New York State has this particular election law where you can have another line on the ballot. So he has another line on the ballot. Andrew Cuomo will be on the ballot in November under a different party called the Fight and Deliver Party. This is a very common practice to have several lines, so you can walk in and vote for your choice of a candidate, sometimes on 3 or 4 different parties.
It's a stupid system.
I don't judge it. I just live in this world. And so the current mayor of New York City, who clearly didn't think he could win the Democratic primary, also has a line. So we're going to have 4 people on the ballot in November. The question is, you can have a line on the ballot, but are you going to run? So Andrew Cuomo said last night he was going to look at the numbers and decide what he's going to do. He's already raised a ton of money, and the question is, can you raise that many millions more after having lost the Democratic primary? We'll wait and see what the business community does, what former Mayor Bloomberg does. We have a Republican, a perennial candidate, Curtis Sliwa, who's going to be on the Republican line. This is a city that is quite, anti-Republican. So I don't think he's going to have much of a shot, but we'll see What I will say is that the betting markets do think that the person who picks up the most gain from this is the current mayor of New York City, Eric Adams. But let's see a few polls.
But what do the betting markets say?
Right now, that's 75% that Zohran is the mayor of New York City. It's early. Remember, it was less than a week ago that they thought Cuomo was in the lead, right? Until the last poll came out, and that's when the betting markets switched.
Is there a wild card, dark horse, somebody who could emerge and get themselves still on a ballot that we don't know about?
No, that ballot is set. That ballot is set.
Okay.
We know what
Train
the ballot
left
is.
The station there.
The train has left the station.
Are you?
Well, you know.
Do you have a hat to throw there? I mean, you've got a platform that's similar to his, that you ran on, that you said free things, right?
When he was in the city council.
You're well known.
You think I got a shot?
I'm ready to. I don't live here, but I'm ready to consider. You know what?
You be my comptroller. Becky's going to
controller. No, but you know what? I don't want to go here, but Gotham. Have you seen what Batman is up against in Gotham, and what the guy running for mayor is up against? That's what it reminds me of. They're taking Wall Streeters and make him walk out onto the ice in the East River and then they fall through.
Yep.
I mean, there is a class warfare that's going.
So what's happened here, I think,
is the rich type.
There's a division within the Democratic Party in New York City and New York State, and it's emblematic of the division that we see nationally. How far left does the Democratic Party want to go?
In Chicago,
it wasn't a winner in the national.
Of all people, the Chicago Tribune tried to save New York from itself. And
the New York Times told voters not to vote for the Socialist.
Think about
The
that.
New York Times said yesterday that his joyful campaign brought new voters into the fold.
Yes, but then they said, please don't rank him on the ballot. They said they weren't going to endorse anybody, and then they said, because
Kathy Hochul did not endorse anybody, and I wonder if she's regretting that now.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So you are all in on Cuomo? Is that
I was all in on Cuomo. Yes,
you were
I was.
all in,
Yes.
and you still are.
Yes. I'm a registered Democrat. I'm a centrist Democrat in New York City that has been trying to push back the left. Not very successfully, I've noticed.
So I just wonder how. So why did Catherine Wilde say that Adams she thinks he's going to end up being mayor?
Well, it's possible. It's possible that if there's enough voters out there who say, okay, they don't want somebody that, because now in the general you get a lot more centrist Democrats, right? Who comes out in the primary? Hardcore voters, mostly the hardcore left. When you see the turnout.
The problem
maps.
is if you have both Adams and Cuomo running, do they split
then
that vote?
You split the ticket. Yes.
Right.
It is a different group of people. I mean, to the question you asked me before the show began, you said, did you vote yesterday? And I said, I didn't vote because I'm actually not a Democrat. I know you laughed at that.
I did.
I'm not a registered Democrat.
It was more of a chortle.
So I was not voting.
More than a chortle.
I got you. You're a registered independent.
Okay,
but here's what you have to understand in New York City. That doesn't mean you're an independent. It means you're a member of the Independent Party, which is an actual party.
I understand that, but the point, though, is that there's a lot of people in the city who didn't vote yesterday.
Because they couldn't.
Okay.
And therefore, where this all lands later is a different story.
What's the normal turnout in the mayoral election? It's piddly. It's piddling, isn't it? What is it?
You're talking about the general?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be very high. It is piddly. I was focused on last night's numbers. We got 1 million voters last night, which is very, very high. So I think it's going to be high.
But normally it's like less than 1 million people elect a mayor.
It's very small. Yeah. It's out of 8.8 million people.